Hello, welcome to the ordeal. I want to take a moment, or several moments, that is, to analyze the 10 flaws with the AtAt video that came out a few weeks ago. I'll leave a link to the video in the description so you can watch that on your own. Now, the video itself does pose some interesting questions and is actually flawed in and of itself. It says that there are 10 flaws and it lists out the flaws one by one as you go through the video. However, it skips number 6, doubles up on number 8, and then number 10 is not a flaw. They don't mention any flaw for it. They actually mention advantages. They don't even disguise these advantages as disadvantages. Many of the flaws that they place in the video are stuff that questionable whether or not it's a flaw. It's an all-terrain armored transport. That's what ATAT stands for, and they don't work well on uneven ground or soft surfaces. Well, that doesn't make any sense. I don't care who said that or who told you that. That's not what the ATAT is. They're slow. Well, that could be overcome with technology. They could be made to move faster. All right. Number 3 is the armor is redundant, and they point out the armor generators that they had in episode 1 on Naboo and say these are more effective types of armor, and that may be, but maybe they're not. Maybe this armor is the most effective armor that the Empire can put on their vehicles. They're too big and too tall. Now, this is not necessarily a disadvantage. This could very well be an advantage. I do not want to tangle with an elephant. If you said you're gonna go fight an elephant, barehanded, bare knuckle box an elephant. No, I'm not. Nope, that's not gonna happen. Sorry. You'd have to give me something to even the playing field there. That elephant's gonna kill me if you don't. It's seriously gonna kill me if you don't give me something to defend myself with. The legs need a lot of maintenance because they're weak. Number 5 is their weak. Number 7 is the legs need a lot of maintenance. Like I said, they skipped number 6. The legs are not weak. They couldn't be weak. And they point out, like, oh, look, they can be blasted apart here by a repeating blaster from Rogue One. Yeah, but here is in the same movie, they're standing up to heavy fire. The legs are standing up to heavy fire. And the AT-ATs are standing up to rockets in the same movie. So these shots in the movie, I don't take these to be the gospel of Star Wars. These are just cool shots that they put in the movies. Hey, look how cool this is. Look at it. We can make these cool shots. These things happen. Look here, it's getting blasted in half. This is not a tank in that case. I mean, what would be the point of having this as an armored vehicle that you would use in warfare? It wouldn't be useful, right? So there's no point in having the AT-AT weak in any spot on its entire body. It wouldn't be. So I can overlook that, and if it's just like saying that the armor is redundant, like they said earlier. It's no, these are just things that they put into the movie to make it look cool. I'm assuming it is a fully functional tank machine that can stand up to heavy fire. All right. Um, it has a separate cockpit. Now this one is actually possibly a disadvantage, right? It truly is. Like you want to have like everything kind of encapsulated in one area if possible. But whatever. Okay, so there's one slight flaw. And then the other one is it has fixed blasters. Yeah, you want to have a turret. You want to have rotating weapons that can see all sides. They mentioned that there's like blind spots underneath the AT-AT and behind the AT-AT. And these are things that, yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense. But at the same time, tanks have the same problem. So there are flaws with tanks in general. But you could easily fix these problems by putting cameras on the AT-ATs. In fact, Star Wars would not actually happen because there would be security cameras. So there would be no Star Wars. There would be cameras everywhere. Star Wars would never happen because they would just, nobody would be able to sneak around anywhere. There'd be cameras everywhere, right? So yeah, Star Wars wouldn't happen in general if there was just cameras around. They keep claiming that the AT-AT will fall over if it has only 3 legs. If you just take out one of its legs, you'll knock the walker over. But why would we assume that? here we have a two-legged robot made on Earth with Earth technology, and we can see that it's perfectly capable of moving around with only two legs. So just taking out one leg doesn't mean that the AT would fall over. They have way more advanced robotics in the Star Wars universe than we have here on Earth. So we can assume that the AT would have balancing controls that would keep it from falling over if it loses a leg. Now, if it loses two legs, there's no option, right? It's gonna fall over. There's just no other way about it. At least two legs in the front or back. Maybe on the side it could shift its weight and then stay upright. But if it loses two legs in the front or back, I don't think there's a way without tilting the entire body of the AT, which would disrupt the people inside enough that that could be calamitous for them. So yeah, just losing a leg doesn't seem like it would be a catastrophe for the AT, at least in my opinion. So now the problem that I have with the AtAt, and the only problem that I have with it, and this is a fatal flaw in the whole design of the AtAt. How do you load and unload the AtAt? It's said to be 22.5 meters tall. I'm assuming that's all the way to the very tippy top. But that's still like 50 feet to the place where the troops would be disembarking the vehicle from. And I'm not going to be jumping off that thing if I'm on that vehicle. I'm not going to be like, oh, let me get down, let me jump. No, I'm not going to be doing that. That's not the way you get out of the vehicle, right? You say, well, they could have, they could rappel out. Well, they can't rappel out because that's going to be way too slow. Assuming that the vehicle is carrying a reasonable number of combatants on it, right? It's going to be way too slow for that. So it's not going to be something that you can rappel out of. And, there's jetpacks are not common. Like stormtroopers don't have jetpacks. They don't run around with jetpacks. How do you load the vehicle, right? I could see that you load it up at the base. You load it up on the base and you have like some sort of platform that is equal height to where they need to be loaded. But then when you're out in the field, how do you disembark? What if you have to get off the vehicle? You have to. You're in the middle of nowhere, and something happens that you have to get off the vehicle. It stops running, like it runs out of fuel, or gets damaged and can't move forward, or there's a fire on it. How do you get off? It's not like they're taking the AT from one place where there's a loading dock to another place where there's a loading dock. No, it's an all-terrain vehicle. It's all-terrain, so you can go into any environment and drop off the troops and then send them into battle. So that is the fatal flaw with the AtAt. It really makes no sense as a transport because it's just too tall, right? These other things that the video points out, the 10 flaws with the AtAt, most of those are like, no big deal. And the ones that are a problem are like minor problems, minor flaws. Okay, so there's a couple of minor flaws. There's going to be minor flaws with everything that you do. But yeah, it's just too tall. How do you get on and off of the thing? That's what the real problem is. Yeah, and let's say you've disembarked in the middle of nowhere. How do you get back on? Like, let's say there's a way to disembark. How do you get back onto the vehicle? So yeah, it's a bad design just because it's too tall. And they do talk about it being too tall or too big in the video, but it's more or less they talk about being too tall. Like if you knock it over, everybody on board is going to die. Well, that makes sense. Or it's too big in that you can see it from far away. So it's too tall, you can see it from far away. Well, those are disadvantages, yeah. But like I said, just because something is tall and you can see it from far away doesn't mean I'm going to want to mess with it. I'm not going to want to run up to a giraffe and punch it. It's just going to kick me or stomp me or bite me or gore me with its horns. It's not going to be something that I'm going to want to stand up to. So those are my thoughts on the AtAt. Let me know what you think down below, and I will talk to you next time.